0, 0. And I've now got a copy of that. I pasted it to, I put it in my clipboard. So here I have a background that I kind of want to work with. This is the model right here. It's a house. Okay. And on this, I have a layout tab. This is a viewport built into it. I'm going to delete that because I don't care for it, but I'm going to put your title block in here in Paperspace. I'm going to zoom extents on that. All right. Now I'm going to type plot, and I'm going to kind of set my settings up and everything else. Previous plot. I've got it set to 36-inch full bleed. That's good. 22 by 34. Extents is good. I'm going to apply the layout. Boom. And cancel. Now you can see my paper is actually all set to go. Everything looks good. Actually, let me check this. This is from END of here to END point. Oh, you said it was an RHD, didn't you? So I've got the wrong size. So plot. Let me fix that. It's going to be a pull bleed 20, arch bleed 24 by 36 right there. Apply the layout. Now click cancel, and now it fits in right in that right spot. Okay, you can see that line. There's a Paperspace line that shows up, but now you can't see it because it's actually underneath your or the border, the paper limits of your particular border, which is a good thing. That's exactly where it's supposed to be. All right, so now I have the drawing, but I need to have a window that looks at model space. Okay, so I type in view, and then I can create a viewport. And I'm going to go ahead and make this viewport to be the whole window here. Okay, and then I'm going to adjust the size of it after I get done. Pick intersect END point of there, END point of here, because you're picking two corners. Okay, so I picked two corners, and by default, InView will actually zoom to the extent of whatever's in model space. So it's decided on the scale for me. It's popped all in there. Of course, it's the incorrect scale, but it's decided on a scale. If you click on the viewport, and you can see here, standard CL says custom. Okay, so I click on that, and I want to set it to something. I can scroll down through here and kind of get an idea. 1/4 inch looks good. 1/4 inch is very common for a house plan. 3/8 would be for some little bit smaller house plan. So I'm going to hit 1/4 inch right here. Okay, and then we're in good shape. All right. Okay, so now we have a 1/4 inch scale. So we know that everything inside that we're doing in model space would need to be scaled up 48 times if I was going to do anything. So let's talk about that. Say we're actually going to place a light fixture in here. Okay, typically a light fixture is about 3/8 inch in diameter, and it has four little arcs on it as far as the symbol goes. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw one. Actually, I'm going to go grab one for it. I'm going to say insert one light OH. Oh, damn it, not this person. Which cares about that one? Okay, I'm going to do dash insert one light. If I can type one light OH. Okay, that's a block that I happen to have in my block library that's available to me on my path. It's on my AutoCAD path, so it knows where to find it, and it goes and looks out there and sees if it finds that, and it sits there. So if you zoom in here, you can't really see. You're like, okay, wow, that's kind of tiny. Boom. So that doesn't light up this room very well. Okay, but we already talked about our scale factor for our drawing being 48. So we look over here, we click on our viewport. It's a 1/4 inch equals a foot. Okay, if you look at the actual scale for that, it actually shows 0 right now because our units are set so interesting. It doesn't really show much. So I'll type in units, and then I can actually see that real scale in there. Okay, so I'm going to set it to decimal, and I'm going to have plenty of decimal places on here. I'm going to pick OK. Now, if I click on this viewport, you can see a scale 0.02083333, and that does not help you very much because that's an inverse scale. Okay, so what we need to take 1/4 inch equals foot. All right, I'm going to right, we know how many inches are in a foot, correct, Cody?
Yes.
Okay, how many?
12 inches to a foot.
12 inches to a foot. So we already converted our feet in units to inch units. So we have 1/4 inch equals 12 inches. So essentially all you do is you divide, and I'm going to use Autolist down here at the command prompt. So you'll see down here, okay, I'm going to type in open parenthesis divide. I'm going to type in 12.0 divided by 48.0. I'm not sorry, that's my bad. 0.25.0, okay? Because 1/4 inch is 0.25. Hit that, and it comes out to be 48. So we know our scale factor is 48.0. So I'm going to click back over your model space. I'm going to highlight this block, and I'm going to scale that to 48. I'm going to do it all of the X, Y, and Z axes. All right, so there's my light fixture. Now you can see it kind of looks more appropriately in this drawing. So I can go from the center of this thing and then move it to like the center of this particular room right here. All right. So actually, let's see. This is the living room area. This is the master bedroom. This is a closet back in here, and there's a bathroom, and here's a bedroom. Which one's yours? This one over here?
Yep.
Okay, good deal. And I'm going to place that to M2P of, say, E and D point of this to E and D point of this. And now I'll place that in the middle. Now I can copy this, and I'm not going to place them accurately. I'm just going to actually just start dropping them in places, okay? And say we wanted one in the closet, wanted one in the closet over here, wanted one in the hallway, or maybe two, one in this hallway here, one in the bathroom, one in this. This is not accurate anymore since your dad's done the remodel, okay? And then you have a bathroom here, and you have a closet over here, or a closet and bathroom. I don't know what it is now. Then you have over here, then you have one over here, then you have something back over here, and you can just place a few in here like so. Okay, now if I come back over here, notice they all show up in there and they're all correct and everything else. Okay, but say I wanted to actually go ahead and modify this scale of this drawing because I actually want to squeeze this in a little bit, and I actually want to add another little area over here to do a zoom in, okay, or a different scale factor so I can kind of detail something out. All right, so if I grab this and I move this viewport over here, I grab it and I just push it over here, and I say to about E and D point of, say, here. All right, so now it's there. Doesn't quite fit anymore. So I'm gonna have to change my scale factor to where it fits a little bit better. So I'm gonna double click on that, and I'm gonna just kind of scooch it over, and it almost fits. So I could probably leave my scale factor because I haven't zoomed. I'm just panning. So I can actually just make this a little bit bigger, and then I won't have to change my scale factor. So I'm gonna move that to the next line over here and see if I can get that to fit in here. And you're right there. So I think we're good. I'm gonna call that good. All right, so we have that. So I didn't have to change my scale factor, but this side of here is 1/4 inch equals foot. I'm going to draw in some text. I'm using a B3 command, which is not an AutoCAD command. It's a Lisp routine that actually sets up my layer and sets my text style and sets my text height to be appropriate. I'm going to pick here. I'm going to say house plan. Boom. Then I'm going to do T1, be a little lower. I'm going to hit enter so it automatically shifts down one line from the previous piece of text. And I'm going to say 1/4 inch equals 1 foot dash 0 inches. Boom. All right, so we know how that is. Now I can also go ahead and use the UT command, which is another Lisp routine, to pick that, and it'll put the underline underneath it. The other way you can do that is actually just double click on it, and then go to the front and do %% U, and then it automatically puts that underneath it. The Lisp routine just automatically appends %% U to the front of it. Okay. All right, so here we are. We've got that part done. Now we want to go ahead and copy this over here. We're making another viewport, okay? And I'm going to squeeze this in here. I'm going to move it from here, here to END of here. And I'm going to grab this corner and I'm going to move it to END point of here. So that makes that smaller. I'm going to bring this up to about the midpoint of here. All right, so now I've got a little smaller space. Now I'm going to double click in here and I'm going to zoom in on something. I'm going to say we're going to detail out this bedroom right here. All right, so we're looking at this a little bit differently. Now the problem with this viewport here is I'm going to bring it up just so it's just that bedroom, or actually down a little bit so I get that closet in there. Okay, so there, I got the closet there. Now this is not a typical layout for a drawing or anything. I'm just trying to show you how to use different viewports with different scale factors and things like that. I look in here and I'm like, okay, that's not too bad, but I look at it again, it's a standard, not a standard scale. So now I'm going to click on this and kind of just scroll down through until I see something that kind of looks like it's going to fit. It's not showing me. Yeah, highlight over it. That's a little too big. That's way too big. I need something better than 1/4 inch, but not as much. So if I look at that 1/2 inch, it's not too bad. Okay, that means that's 2 times the scale of what I'm using later. 3/4 inch is too big. Okay, but 1/2 inch does work. So I'm gonna click on that. That gets me into this room a little bit closer. All right. So what I could do here is I'd copy this from here over here, click here, and I'd say what this is. Say detail room detail. Room. We'll call it room 1 detail. boom, and then I change this to 1/2 inch equals foot. Now that means that if I'm going to have something in this area showing the light fixture, it has to be back to, it has to be 48 scale as well. Problem is it doesn't work very well. So what I can do is I can actually cheat. I can go back to model space. There's a couple of things the way you do. There's annotative scales. We're not going to get into that right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do it manually with layers. Okay. I'm going to create a layer. Okay. Now we have the, I didn't actually put it on layer. Let's create a layer. We're going to call it lights. We'll call it symbols. And I'm going to say, oops, symbols. I'm going to say 48 for 48 scale factor. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and set that to a yellow color. All right. Okay. All right. And that's fine. And I'm going to create another one called symbols 24. So that'll be, I'm going to put symbols on this layer that are actually for the 1/2 inch scale. All right. So what I can do is now I can copy this and this from 0,0 to 0,0,0. Good. Now I can pick on the last two that I just made and go ahead and put those on a different layer. I'm going to put those on the symbols 24 layer. All right. And I'm going to go ahead and turn off the 24 layer real quick. Actually, you know what? I can go ahead and just, I don't have to do that. I can still work with this. All right. So I'm going to pick each one of those again, but now their scale factor is supposed to be 24. So I'm going to type in 24, 24, 24. All right. So now you can see both. You can see the 48 and the 24. So I'm going to click on these and move these to the 40. Porky pig. I'm going to move those to the symbols 48. There we go. So now over here, if I go back to here, I can see those are both showing up in here. So what I can do is I can double click in this viewport here, and I can go to layer. Now in here, I can turn off symbols 24. Just right here, turn it off. Okay, freeze and off, so that it doesn't show up. Now I can click over on here, all right, and I can turn on symbols 20. Oh, but see what's happening here? If I do this, I'm actually turning it off on both of them. So that's what I want you to notice is it turned off over here as well. So it's not correct what I did. Okay, so I type in layer. I didn't want to do that. I want to do here and here. This is called viewport freeze. Okay, I want to click here for this viewport. Click, and now it just turns it off in this viewport. So it's off in here, but it's still on over here. So now I'm going to double click back to my paper space. I'm going to double click into my 24 viewport, and I can click on, oops, didn't want to do that. I want to click on here. If you accidentally zoom, just undo or zoom back and get back to where you want to be, or you might have to go back over here and tweak your scale factor and everything again. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to click on that, and you can see those are on the symbols 24 layer, and they're showing up. All right, so I'm going to type in layer. Now I'm in this viewport. So anything I do in here for this viewport freeze is only affecting this viewport. So I'm going to turn off the 48. All right, so now that, if you notice, these light symbols all show the same size across this drawing. Even though the scale factor is different in this viewport than this viewport, I have the same symbol showing up the same exact size. That way, when you create a legend down here, so if I go over here and I grab one of these, Control-C, and I click, say, that, and I grab one of these, boom, and then I paste one of those in here, Control-V, and paste it here. Now over here, this is paper space. You want this to be 1. Okay, so 1, 1, 1. And notice that matches the exact same size of all these. Anything in paper space does not have a scale except of 1.0. It does not have an adjustment. This one has a scale factor of 24. This one has a scale factor of 48. All right, so now if I'm creating my legend, okay, I'm going to go ahead and copy this. I'm going to bring it down here, and I'm going to CT this. I'm going to call this legend. I'm going to put uppercase legend. Boom. And I'm going to go and UT that last. Boom. I underline that using the UT command. Again, that's just % U in front of it. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to drop this right here. And then I'm going to add some text over here. I'm going to do T1, which is just another list routine that kind of sets my layer and my size up and everything else. And I'm going to say ceiling light. All right. Boom. So now we need to play some other things. Okay. Let's see if I can go find a outlet real quick. Forget what the name of the outlet is. Not in there, obviously. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to drag and drop. Now inserting a plug in here. I'm going to go ahead and place this right here. Okay. And I'm going to call this copy down. 120 volt duplex. All right. So now I want some of these inside the plan drawing. Control Shift C. I go INS of that, pick that, and then I can actually go over to model space and I can place one of these. Control V. We're going to say one's over here on the mid of this right here. Okay. And if you look at it, it's like the wrong scale. What scale does it need to be? Cody?
Needs to be did I just
48.
40? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the ticket. Okay, so I'll highlight both of these. So they're both 48. All right, so now I have a plug there. All right, I'll move this one from here. And I'm just eyeballing. He's not actually placing really well. Boom.
I don't know why I was gonna say 24. The other one was.
The other one's 24, and we will need 24 as well. All right, now pick on this. I need to rotate that. So I can either use the rotate command or I can pick it and then change the properties over here to say 90 degrees. Boom. All right, so then I copy this from here to say here and up to here. All right, now I can put this one to 270. And I can put this one here to 180. All right, so here we are with that. Now we go back to our plan drawing.
That's cool. So it's showing all the outlets.
Yeah, so you can see the receptacles are showing up in here. They're showing the right size, but they're too big over here. Okay, so again, we have to do that same thing where we created another layer for those to go on. All right, so we're gonna make sure they're on the right layer to begin with. Boom. These are on med text. That's not the layer we want them to be on. So I highlight them all and I set these all to the symbols 48 layer. Okay, now I can copy all those again from 0,0, boom, to 0,0, boom. Now I've done that. Now I can actually say select P for previous, and now I can move those. This is kind of a cheat because I already had them selected. I kept the copy on 48. I put the new ones on 24. And now if I click back over here, everything comes out correct, or it should come out correct. Yeah, I might have to do a regen. All right. Did I not put those on the right layer? Hold on here. On 48. They vary. Okay, that's fine. On 24. Oh, I didn't change the scale of them. Duh. Sorry. Idiot. Okay, so I'm going to pick, and pick. Those are all the 48s. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I can do this a couple ways. I can turn off the layer, 48. I can turn that off here. Boom, like so. Or freeze it. And now I can pick this, 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 and this. Those are on the 24 layer. And then I can actually change their scales to 24. Okay, so that now it shows up correctly and appropriately, and then I can turn the layer back on for 48. Okay, now that's back on. You see them doubled up in model space because they're in model space. I click on layout and you see them showing up correctly here and here and here. So now if you look at this, this symbol size matches it here and it matches it over here. So that's why you want to have viewports and have ability to actually maintain variations of layers and scales and things like that inside your viewports. That's going to give you that ability. All right. Now, to do things in here, like if you're going to route your circuits or something like that, like you might need a switch. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a switch. Hold on, let me grab one. And again, I'm just grabbing this from my library and drop them in. I'm going to place this switch right here. Enter, enter, enter. And it's S Okay, pick OK. And again, it's too small, but I know I need to make that 48. Right? And looking at it, I can see it's pointing the wrong direction. And let's select on it. I'm going to say I want it to be 90 degrees. Boom. All right, now I can move it here up to say here. Now that's my switch. I can draw a P line from say here. And I'm just going to draw a line over here. I'm going to say to center of here. All right. Now this looks sloppy, but what you can do is you can use the P edit command, pick it, and then hit S for spline. Okay. And it kind of smooths it out. Okay. And then you hit enter to exit that. And now you have shown your circuit going from here to here, and you're good to go. Now we have different variations here. So we need to actually create 2 of these. So this one needs to go on the 48 layer. Boom. I'm
Is,
going to
is
make a
that just
copy.
showing? Is that just showing that switch turns that light on and like?
Yes, that's exactly what that shows. Okay, now I'm going to pick the new one and I'm going to put that to 24. And I'm going to change the scale to 24, 24, 24. All right. And there we have it. And I'll move this over a little bit so it's a little bit better presentation here. Kind of make sure it kind of lines up there. So now if I go back over here, I can see that I have switch showing up and switch showing up. All right. The switches are, again, the same size. I need to drop in a switch in here. So I'm going to dash insert, one switch, boom, and we go here and enter 90 degrees, and okay. All right. So there it is. Now I'm going to copy this. 20-volt single pole switch. All right. So now you have a drawing. So if I plot this, boom, 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 monochrome, we're good. Pick OK. And we'll just call it there. Jeff House, cool. Pick OK. And here is that drawing result. If we look in here, you can zoom in a little bit and see everything shows up appropriately as it should. You got your legend down here, and you have your drawing and your lights up here like so. All right. Now that's doing using paper space. All right. You cannot do double scale factors like this if you were working only in model space. All right. So we're going to close this a little bit real quick. And I'm going to save this as something different. We're going to call this save as diff plan. If I type, sample, um, paper space. Right. And I'm going to save as a different one now. We're going to call this one model space. Okay. To do this in model space, it's just about, you can do it, but it creates issues you don't want to have. You'd actually have to create a copy of this in the same drawing and move it over in the area over here, the spot you'd want to show up. You take your title block, boom, Control Shift C from here, boom, and then you'd actually drop that over here, Control V. I drop it here. You notice it's too small to encompass the house, but I'd actually scale this up to 48 times. 48, 48. All right. You move the title block to your drawing and you scale your title block to the drawing. You do not move your drawing to the title block.
To put this somewhere.
Okay. All right. And then you'd have to actually create a copy of that area and put it up over here if you really wanted to duplicate what we did on the other one, which is something I don't recommend. Typically what you'd end up doing, you'd put this on a different drawing if that was the case. So you'd end up with this just being the plan here. You get place your text down here. It all had to be 48 times larger than it is in the paper space. And then you'd end up, you wouldn't have the duplications of the symbols, but then you'd save this drawing something else, and then you trim out or you do an X clip of the area you just want to see in that drawing. But we won't get an X clip tonight. I'll kind of just end it there. That way it's not too long of a video and you can kind of watch it a couple of times if you really want to and go from there. Does
Okay,
that help
I
a little bit?
definitely understand. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I definitely understand a little more now. That's really cool that it's able to do that.
Yeah, yep.
It's a lot.
Viewports definitely give you a lot more flexibility on different scales and using different scales and things like that. It's really nice if you had like cabinets or something like that in here, and this was a 3D model, you could actually rotate the view to where you're actually looking at the elevation instead of a plan view. You could actually look at, sides, fronts, and stuff like that in your viewport. Because if this was a 3D model, you kind of have that way. I don't
Gotcha.
think this is a 3D model. I think I just drew this. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think I will, unless you have any other questions, I think I'm gonna call that done. Your
Not that I
short class
can
today.
think of. Yeah, it was just I was curious more about the viewports, but that definitely answered my
Okay,
question so far.
well, good.
I'm gonna continue doing my outline of the United States. I'm gonna continue that after this class here. I'm gonna just do it until I go to bed.
All right, sounds good. I'm gonna stop the recording.